Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Southwest.
The best road team in the American League, your Rangers, begins the second half of the season on the road. And it starts in Houston. When the Rangers swept the Astros in May, it began a month-long stretch where they played their best baseball of the season. With the renewal of the All-Star break and the 2015 debut of Martin Perez, the Rangers hope to begin a march to the postseason. The Silver Boot Series reconvenes as Texas and Houston begin a three-game series next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Ubers TV. Welcome to the great indoors down here in Houston. Minute Maid Park, the scene as the Rangers get set to begin the second half of the 2015 series. They are hosted by the Houston Astros. And welcome in, everyone, along with Mark McLemore, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us on this Friday night after the All-Star break. Hope you all had a great time away from the Rangers. Time to get back to work, though, and root your Rangers on. They'll take on the Astros tonight, and the newest member of the Rangers' starting rotation, back in there after a 14-month absence, Martin Perez.
Yeah, Buzz, Martin Perez is making his 2015 debut tonight, and, he's ready to get back in there. You look at the numbers that he had in rehab, 6 rehab starts, 0-1 record, not really concerned about that, a 4.5 ERA, 25-plus innings, but the numbers that I really like are the 3 walks, 25 strikeouts. That's what you really want to see. And I got a chance to talk to him a little bit yesterday, and he said he feels good, the velocity is there, the control is there, so we'll be able to see about that tonight.
Again, we're all excited to see somebody get back out there after a long layoff, and Martin's piquing our interest. We'll see how that plays out here tonight. We'll be back with more of the pregame right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, a warm and sultry evening outside here in Houston. Inside, very comfortable under the dome. And before we get things underway, let's head down and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, on a major thoroughfare down here, Buzz, and very excited as everybody is about the return of Martin Perez. He says he's been dreaming about this day every day since his surgery last May, and consequently everybody's excited about his return.
The grueling process by which a player goes through to be able to walk back out on a major league field, still for me, look, I get butterflies anytime a guy does that, and it's a special feeling because I have a sense of what they're going through. Each individual person is different, but I do have a sense of what they're going through and what it feels like, and just to hear that crowd again.
And now the dream comes true for Martin Perez. He's been dreaming about it in part because he was the April Pitcher of the Month for the Rangers, the Player of the Month for 2014. He's back on the mound in just a few minutes. In fact, when we come back to Minute Maid Park in Houston, we'll have the starting lineups and the first pitch. It's the Astros and the Rangers on Fox Sports Southwest.
Weekend down here in Houston, and now Mark McLemore is going to tell you about the Southwest Airlines Texas Rangers starting lineup.
All right, Michael Shields will be leading off playing left field. Ned Odor will hit second and play second base. Prince Fielder will be the DH and bat third. Adrian Beltre is the cleanup hitter playing third base. Mitch Moreland will bat fifth and play first base. Josh Hamilton will be in right field tonight and hit sixth. Elvis Andrews, the shortstop, will hit seventh. Leonis Martins in center and will hit eighth. Doing the catching and hitting ninth, Robinson Chirinos.
And that lineup for Jeff Bannister is going to take on the 28-year-old right-hander Colin McHugh, who is very quietly putting together a very solid season. 9-5 with a 4.50 ERA and 18 starts, but the numbers are a little deceiving. He's been throwing the ball better than that, and he is a guy that throws more breaking pitches than fastballs. He has gotten by with that, and we'll see how that fares tonight for him. But the Ranger hitters, as a consequence, will try and make him throw strikes early in the count. Typically, a guy that throws a lot of breaking balls pitches from behind a lot, and Ranger hitters will try to exploit that against Colin McHugh. Well, McHugh leading the Astro team to the field tonight. The Astros come in at 49-42. They have lost 6 consecutive ball games, but here at home, they are 28-16. And we'll show you the Astro defense behind McHugh tonight. L.J. Ho's the start in left field. Jake Maristic in center. And Colby Rasmus is in right. Chris Carter at first. Jose Altuve and the youngster Carlos Correa up the middle. And Marwin Gonzalez at third with Jason Castro catching. And it'll be interesting to see, Mac, tonight. Carlos Correa, this is our first look at him in everyday action for the Astros. And much ballyhooed, and he's gotten off to a great start in his young career.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about him over the last couple of years, and thought that he might be able to get to the big leagues last year, but he had a sprained ankle, and that he lost the second half of the year. But coming up here so far this year, he's gotten off to a great start at 276 with 7 home runs and 19 RBIs in just 32 ball games.
Wow!
So that so far so good. He looks haven't had a chance to see him play, so I'm pretty excited about being able to see him play tonight.
Well, the Rangers come in a bit of a downer for themselves. They've lost a couple straight, only 2 of 8, or 2 and 8, I should say, in their last 10 games. And looking to get the offense back going. The Rangers come in at 42-46. They are 6 games behind the now division-leading Los Angeles Angels. And they're 5.5 back of these Houston Astros. So Rangers have won 4 of 6 against Houston this year. And as we told you, they won 3 straight back in May down here against a very hot Houston team at that time. Here's Delino to Shields to start things off. And McHugh's first pitch is in for strike 1. Delino at 267 overall. No home runs, 12 driven in. That on-base percentage continuing to hover right around 360 much of the time as he takes strike 2. You remember back in May, and that first game down here, on May the 4th, night that Martin Perez hurt his wrist diving for a ball in left center field. That gave Delino to Shields the opportunity to step into the lineup on a more consistent basis. Leonis Martin hurting his wrist, diving for that ball in left center field, and that gave Delino the chance, and boy, he took off with it and did a great job getting on base. There's that big breaking ball from McHugh, and down goes to Shields for out number 1.
Buzz talked about it. McHugh throws the breaking ball more than he throws the fastball, and he's ahead 2 strikes. And there it is right there to the Shields, and he goes down swinging.
Well, McHugh had kind of switched back and forth. Earlier in the year, he was throwing, again, mostly breaking balls, and he went through a streak of about a month where he threw more fastballs than breaking ball, trying to turn things around a bit. And now he's gone back the other way, and Rougned Odor didn't give him a chance to go to the breaking ball. Left center field, Marisnik's throw, and out at second base. Rougned Odor, a great play by Jake Marisnik. And Rougned shot down, and it took a perfect throw to get him.
Nice play by Marisnik, getting over to that gap and cutting that ball off, knowing that Odor can run a little bit. Marisnik gets it, stops on a dime, throws a one-hopper to Altuve, and they got him. Yeah, I like the hustle. I like the idea. Hey, it's early in the ball game. I'm going to make that outfield, put some pressure on them. I'm going to make them try and throw me out.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Marisnik did it.
No, we will tell you right up front that George Springer, the fine outfielder, is on the shelf for the Astros. So they're playing one guy down in the outfield, what they normally do. And a lot of people have felt that has taken the heart away from this Houston club. But boy, Marisnik certainly making a fine play on his own. Prince Fielder fouls that back. Excuse me, Mac.
Sorry, they've definitely got a talented outfield. You've got Marisnik in center and Springer when he's healthy, and Colby Rasmus, the veteran out there. To lose Springer, I mean, that's a lot. He's a very good player, very young, exciting player. We've seen him. He's done some things to us that, made some spectacular plays here in Houston and also at home at our ballpark.
And shooting it the other way, Prince has one that caroms off that short wall. So it's going to hold him to a single as Ho's able to come in and get the carom, but Boy, Prince Fielder picking right up where he left off, not only before the All-Star break, but during the All-Star game.
Absolutely.
Shooting that ball the other way.
He uses the entire field. That's why his average is 340 and not, 270 or 280. Every team employs that big shift on him, and he takes a fastball by McHugh on the outside part of the plate, actually off the plate, and shoots it right past the bag at third base. Nice piece of hitting.
Well, the Rangers with a couple of hits in the inning. However, all they have aboard is Prince Fielder at first. Here's Adrian Beltre. Off speed a little bit outside. That was the slider or cut fastball, if you prefer. 255 Adrian's average, 7 home runs, 22 driven in. And he is had 6 at-bats against Colin McHugh, 2 for 6 for Beltre. Had a big rip there. A ball and a strike. Adrian finished the first half of the season in pretty good style. He had a 4-game hitting streak coming into play tonight. That goes back to the San Diego series and 1 game before. .438 average with a home run and a run driven in. McHugh a check of first. Beltre chops it foul. 1-2 now. Well, Adrian on the homestand. It was an 8-game homestand for the Rangers. And Beltre hit .290. Went 9 for 31. Then I guess the biggest thing, he started showing signs of getting that power back. Folks concerned about that thumb, how much it was going to impair him. And there was some concern after he hit a few long fly balls when he got back into the batting, into the lineup that didn't carry out of the ballpark. And of course, the natural question is, what's going on with Beltre's thumb? That's deep down the right side, but it's going to slice back into the seats. Rasmus over there to take a look, but it's well back out of play.
Yeah, I think, Buzz, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's getting stronger already, just the 4 days off that the Rangers had. Looking at him already around the batter's box, the 3 swings that he's taken, he's continued to hold the bat in that left hand, which is something he wasn't doing before the break.
Right.
He was trying to protect it as much as he possibly could. But the 3 swings so far, he's holding it in his left hand. I know it's a small thing, but it's actually a pretty big thing for him. That tells me that hand, that wrist, that thumb, it's all getting stronger and it's getting better.
1-2 the count. Yeah, there's a line drive base hit to left field. Checking in at second base, Prince Fielder. So runners at first and second, 2 away. And Mitch Moreland will come up. That's 3 consecutive hits now for the Rangers. I guess if you're looking on the negative side, you go back and say, well, wait a minute, Rougned Odor had a base hit and got thrown out with 1 out at second base. Yeah, he would have scored on that. Well, you can't, I don't think you can go back and say that, Mac. I think the point you brought up about trying to be aggressive early played into that decision by Odor.
Oh, there's no question. You can't look back and say, oh, well, if we hadn't done that, then, we'd have a run now. You really can't say that. Number one, the pitch sequence probably changes with Odor out there at first base and Prince up. But just to have these 2 guys swinging the bat, 3 hits in a row, that's what you want to see. You want to see that early. I love the fact that Odor was being aggressive early in the ball game. You've got to continue to do that because most times that outfielder is going to be off of his mark a little bit. That's all it would have taken there, just for Marisnick to be off his mark a little bit, and Odor's at second base with a double, and then it's a great play.
And as it is, Mitch has an opportunity to do some damage against McHugh and the Astros here in the first. That is low and outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Mitch, like many of the Ranger hitters, kind of finishing off on a sour note offensively. Last 10 ball games, he hit under 180. But he also was in a streak where pretty much consistency would have been the hallmark going back to when he came back in the lineup. It's this one to right field. That's a base hit. Rasmus to the ball quickly, so they're going to have to hold Fielder at third base. 4 consecutive hits. The Rangers have the bases loaded with 2 outs.
And Mitch waited McHugh out. McHugh kept trying to go to the outside part of the plate. Mitch waited patiently for something out over the middle of the plate that he can handle. got a good fastball and drilled it into right field for a single. That's the patience you were talking about, Buzz. They're being patient or patiently aggressive right now. They're waiting for that pitch, they're waiting for something to hit. They're not nibbling, going for anything off the plate. They're letting McHugh come to them and throw something out over the plate. So far, he's done it.
Yeah, let's see if Josh Hamilton can do some damage. He takes that big curveball in for strike one. Josh hitting at .240 with a couple of home runs, 6 driven in. 1 for 6 in his career against Colin McHugh. The 0-1 now. Another breaking ball. Nice stop by Castro. That pitch in the dirt. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hamilton just 3 for 20 on that just completed homestand. Has been having a bit of a struggle at home plate since coming back off the disabled list. He's hit just .214 in the 7 games prior to tonight that he had started. Bothered also by a strained groin muscle. A chance, though, to do some damage here. Bases full, 2 outs. And he gets jammed. Roller that Carter underhands to McHugh, and Colin McHugh and the Astros escape a first inning that saw the Rangers with 4 hits, but they leave the bases full. After a half inning, Rangers nothing, Astros coming up. Now here's Mac to tell you about the Astros lineup.
All right. Jose Altuve is going to lead off and play second base. Marwin Gonzalez will bat second and play third base. Carlos Correa, the shortstop, will bat third. Evan Gattis will DH and hit cleanup. Colby Rasmus is in right field. He'll hit fifth. Chris Carter is playing first base and hits sixth. LJ Holmes will play left field and bat seventh. Jason Castro will do the catching and bat eighth. And Jake Marisnick is in center field and he'll bat ninth.
And that is the Astros lineup that Martin Perez will face tonight, the 24-year-old left-hander. Nice to see Martin out there. First time in 14 months or so that he has towed the big league pitching rubber. Reports from his rehab assignment say that his velocity is back. His command can be a problem, as it can be for anybody coming back after a long layoff. I don't care how many times you pitch. When you get back out to the big league mound for the first time, you may try and do a little too much, and that'll lead to command problems. But Martin will figure all that out. He's doing what he has to do now to get back to the big league level and be the kind of pitcher that his promise showed him to be before he was hurt. And that was a guy that beat these Houston Astros 3 consecutive times with an ERA of about $1.50.
And got his first complete game against them as well.
He did, right in this ballpark. Jose Altuve, the All-Star second baseman for the Astros. 2 balls and no strikes. Altuve, a .293 average with 8 home runs and 38 driven in. The 8 home runs already a new career high for him. His previous had been 7. 4 for 10 against Martin Perez. And the left-hander misses low. It's 3 balls and no strikes. Altuve leading things off. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Marwin Gonzalez. .3-0. And ball 4. Oh, 4-pitch walk, and that's how Martin starts his first outing at the big league level since a year ago May. Take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by Break Check. Outfield, it's Shields in left, Martin in center, Hamilton in right. It's Moreland at first, Rougned Odor, Elvis Andrus up the middle, Adrian Beltre at third, and Robinson Chirinos is behind the plate. And very conspicuous by his absence, Shin-Soo Choo not in the lineup. And Jeff Bannister asked today about that. He said, well, these are the 3 guys we have out there for the first game after the All-Star break. We'll see what happens from here on in. Kind of a day-to-day proposition. And, you know, when you have Josh Hamilton out there, you have Leonys Martin out there, and you have Delano DeShields out there, probably have the fastest outfield that the Rangers can put in the field defensively.
Yeah, there's no question about that. They can go get it, especially the 2 guys in left and center. Josh still has great speed, especially, you know, for his size. You hear that all the time. He can still cover some ground out there in right field.
And the pitch outside to Marwin Gonzalez. It is a ball and a strike. Gonzalez, a switch hitter, batting at .253 with half a dozen home runs. He has driven in 20. Last 8 ball games, though, Gonzalez swinging the bat pretty well, a .348 average. Astros, as the Rangers have been in the doldrums offensively. Series just prior to the All-Star break against Tampa Bay. They scored a total of 7 runs, and 6 of them came by the home run, which is pretty typical for Houston.
Yeah, they've definitely been struggling to score runs. And, you know, that's what, you know, it's got them with that 6-game losing streak. The pitching's been fine, but the bats have kind of gone away for a little while. Hopefully they'll stay asleep for this weekend.
Altuve inching off the bag at first, and Martin Perez checks him back with a throw. Altuve again leading the American League in stolen bases. And that is a big part of his game and the Astros games. 25 steals and 33 attempts. The caught stealing up a little bit more this year than in the past. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count to Gonzalez. And that little chopper foul. Will come back and try it again. Astros, we mentioned, 28-16 in this ballpark. And that has been their strong suit this year. The home record, one of the best in baseball. And our look at the stolen bases that we were talking about. The Astros, 69 as a team. That is the most in the American League. Tampa Bay next. The American League average 45. Rangers 4th on that list. Still 1-2. And that evens the count. Astros, just to give you an idea, not that series against Tampa Bay, 3-game series, they lost all 3. There's a double play ground ball. Elvis Odor turns it, and 6-4-3. Twin killing eliminates that leadoff walk. 2 gone.
Well, Perez did exactly what he needed to do. Got Gonzalez out in front of it. Got him to roll over on a ground ball to short. Changeup was probably a little bit high in the zone, a little bit higher than what he wanted, but he still got the results that he wanted. Elvis comes around that ball, flips it to Odor. Nice turn. Got 2. Pitcher's best friend.
That it is. Now, Martin can go back to the windup now, facing Carlos Correa. Youngster that was called up 32 games ago. And when you hear numbers like he has put up, 7 home runs, 19 RBI in 32 games. He Say, wait a minute. That can't be right. It'll be a close race at first as Perez gets over there just in time to step on the bag before Correa planted his foot in it. Nice play by Moreland and Perez. The side retired. We'll go to the second. We are scoreless at Minute Maid Park. ...2015 Gillette Home Run Derby. What that means for you is you can save $13 off tickets in the lower box and Lexus Club box to select games. Just visit TexasRangers.com/Prince and use the online coupon code of Prince to redeem it. But hurry, the offer ends tonight at midnight, so you better get on it right now. Rangers coming about here in the top of the second inning. Scoreless ball game. Bottom third of the Ranger order. Elvis Andrus takes a Colin McHugh pitch in for strike one. Elvis hitting at .242. 3 home runs, 29 driven in. That slider from McHugh that's low and outside. Elvis finished things off in a pretty good offensive group. 4 for his last 9 with a couple of doubles. Shoots it to the right side. Altuve in shallow right field, throws wide, and Elvis is safe. Altuve looked like he had a hard time getting his feet underneath him to turn and throw.
Yeah, it was a difficult play for him. He just didn't get his feet around, couldn't get his body turned around. He was playing Elvis up the middle a little bit and had to go far to his left, out short right field, and going that way, he's trying to get his feet around so he can get a good throw off, but wasn't able to get his body turned quite far enough and threw wide.
Yeah, still don't have a ruling on it. It's going to be ruled a base hit for Elvis Andrus. I think that's the proper call. Chris Carter being tended to by the Astros trainer. I don't know what happened to Chris.
Maybe ignoring a little bit, trying to go up that way.
Could have been. Yeah. A.J. Hinch out there also to take a look at him. Yeah, he came down funny on something. Yeah, a little bit of a
there's
roll.
that ankle.
There we go. Good job, guys. Good camera work. I don't mean a good job for rolling the ankle, but nice job to catch that. Well, Chris Carter off the field, and we'll see if he's going to get taped up or what's going to happen. Go back out there. Looks like he's not going to be able to answer the bell to get back out in the field. Well, Carter out of the ball game. John Singleton will come in to take over at first base for Chris Carter. So John Singleton off the bench now will take over, and Elvis Andrus at first with nobody out. That's the 5th Ranger hit of the night. I was going to ask you on that play, Altuve looked like if he'd spun all the way around, might have had a better chance to get in position. Is that not something you think about?
You just try. If you can, you want to throw the ball without spinning, because a lot of times you'll spin and you can throw your balance off a little bit. So you want to try and get your body in the right position, but you've got to be able to throw. Get your shoulders squared up with the first baseman, and Altuve just wasn't able to do it. That's typically an easy play for him. But in that instance, he just wasn't able to do it. And, like I said, he just started up the middle a little bit, and he knows that Elvis can get down the line.
Right.
So he obviously didn't think he had enough time.
Now the Rangers, a couple of options. You have Leonys Martin, who has very good speed at the plate and is also a very good punter. And, of course, Elvis has great speed at first base. Leonys, 2 out of 7 in his career against McHugh. Third baseman Marwin Gonzalez believing that Leonys Martin is going to drop down a bunt of some kind. He's way down the line from third. Fouled off the other way. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, I've got, as a left-hand hitter that can hit the ball the other way, and you've got a pitcher that's throwing the ball, middle away to left-handers. You've got that, Marwin Gonzalez, third baseman. He's 15 feet in front of the bag.
Yeah.
If I'm the hitter, I'm trying to hit that ball down his throat or just pass him down the line for a double.
Pretend it's a croquet wicket, and you're right between the wickets. 1-1 pitch. Got him on the fist. The second, nice turn by Altuve, and they got the 2. Boy, Altuve made that transfer and throw as quickly as you can do it. Each team now with a double play.
Perfect turn by Altuve. That's a very difficult one. The ball wasn't hit very hard, so that means the runner at first base, especially a guy like Elvis who has speed, he's going to be on top of the second baseman at second base. And Altuve did it perfectly. He came across the bag and was able to stay clear of Elvis coming in and still get a strong throw off over first base.
So base is empty, 2 away now. Robinson Chirinos going after that slider with no success there. It's no balls and a strike. Chirinos, 213. That's as high as he's been all year with the batting average. 2 out of 4 against McHugh. Another slider. Matter of fact, I think I'll just tell you when it's not a slider. Save a lot of work.
Yeah, that might be better. It might be easier for sure.
With all the statistical record keeping that's going on now, they got all kinds of breakdowns for Colin McHugh. It will suffice it to say that according to a couple of stats firms, that he throws about 70% breaking ball, either curveball or slider. So about 30% fastballs, which to me is unheard of. There's one of them.
Now, are most of those in the odd hour of a game or an even minute?
Well, I didn't get to that page. It was probably the next page.
I'm sure there is a page.
I'm sure there is too. 1-2 pitch. Correa backing up to get the big hop, and that'll do it. The leadoff single followed by the double play. Rangers go out in order. No runs a hit, nobody left after 1.5. No score. fan photo and just use hashtag Southwest Data Strong Fan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. A nice crowd on hand here in Minute Maid Park tonight. First game after the 2015 All-Star break. Martin Perez making his first start since May of 2014. Back out there to face the middle third of the Astros order. Evan Gattis, Colby Rasmus, and John Singleton. Gattis, a guy that when we saw him earlier in the year was really struggling. He had just started to turn things around. We saw him in May, but the first series that we saw him in Arlington, he was in a prolonged 0 for. He was 0 for 16 or 17 to start the season with about 12 strikeouts. Not only was he not getting the hit, he wasn't making contact, but he has really turned things around to the point now where he's hitting .241, and he's the team leader with 54 runs driven in. Matter of fact, you go back to the latter part of April. There's a drive to right center field. That ball is well hit into the alley. Martin on the run. He can't get it. It's off his glove. Gattis to third, going to third. Elvis' throw. They'll get him if the ball doesn't hit Gattis, but it does. Elvis had him dead to rights. Gattis went into the slide just as the ball was even with him. It hit him in the back. And he is in with a 5th triple for him this season.
So Martin got on his horse, got there, and went off of his glove. It's a big ballpark out there in right center field. Long way to go. Martin was there. He just couldn't haul it in. Then gets it into Elvis. And Elvis drills Gattis right in the back. I don't think Gattis even felt that.
Probably not.
He is a large plug.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So, a leadoff triple gets Gattis to third. Now Colby Rasmus will hit. Rangers playing the infield back with nobody out. Rasmus at .237 average. Just yikes! Right above the belt. He didn't. You're right. He didn't feel it.
No, he's just wondering where the ball.
Yeah.
Where's the ball? I thought it was coming.
Oh, goodness.
That's right over at third, having fun. I don't know who he's having more fun with, Gattis or Pettis.
Yeah. Probably getting on Gary for allowing him to go to third base in the first place. Pitch inside to Rasmus, 2 balls and a strike. Now, Colby Rasmus normally would not get a lot of at-bats against left-handed starters, but without Springer in the lineup, A.J. Hinch has to go to somebody, and Rasmus, the experienced hitter. But he is 0 for his last 9 also. It might be a case of him getting a little bit overexposed out of necessity. Martin Perez with a 2-1 pitch. Now 3-1. Rasmus hitting 5th in the order. He'll be followed by the first baseman, John Singleton. Be careful here. Rasmus, even if it's left-hander against left-hander, looks for something to pull, and he can do it with power. Check swing, a good fastball away. Full count.
Yeah, even though hitters, may not have a lot of success lefty on lefty or anything like that, an experienced hitter like Rasmus, he can sit on one pitch. Mm-hmm. If he's looking for something in and gets it in, he can get that bat head around to it.
Now Perez with Gattis at third, working from the stretch. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. He has overpowered Rasmus. That is the first strikeout for Martin Perez. 1 away, and Singleton coming up.
I like it. Perez went to the fastball. 3-2 count. Puts it right there where Torino's called for it. Maybe a little higher in the zone, but got the result that he wanted. 93-mile-an-hour fastball.
Now another favorable matchup. This time the Ranger infield will come in with John Singleton up there. Singleton replaced the injured Chris Carter Carter, by the way, was announced as a sprained right ankle. That was the reason he was taken out of the lineup. Won't play at first base to start off the second inning. So Singleton in there. Young first baseman, again, struggling at the big league level. He's hitting just 120. Two balls and no strikes. Singleton, no home runs, 3 driven in. And he, like many of his Astro teammates, in a prolonged over. He's over his last 9. Amazing this young guy can go to AAA and really tear things up.
Yeah, we've seen guys like that over the years.
Yeah.
It seems to need for there to have a need for a league in between AAA and the big leagues.
3.5, eh?
That might be it. That might be it. You know, and sometimes you just can't explain it. Why a guy can be at AAA and hit, 330, 350,
sure,
and come to the big leagues and can't hit 200. You just sometimes you just can't put your finger on it.
Now this year at AAA for Singleton, for example, at 280, it's 17 home runs in 70 ball games. And that's pretty good production. 2-1 pitch coming from Perez. Throw down to third and Gaddis back. He started to slide, said, I'm not that far away. I'll just stand up. 3-1 now the count. And all Gaddis has to do is stand on the line. You can't throw anywhere near third base if he's between you and the bag.
No.
Man, takes up a lot of ground just standing still. Second straight hitter now that Martin Perez has gone to a 3-1 count. Came back to get Colby Rasmus. And let's see what he can do with John Singleton. Took a little something off and got the foul tip. It is 3-2. Well, Martin's had to work a little bit here in this second inning. Had to work in the first inning a little bit too, but the double play took the pressure off immediately after the leadoff walk. Now he gave up the leadoff triple to Gaddis. Got Colby Rasmus swinging on a 3-2 pitch. Now let's see what he does with John Singleton. Again, the payoff pitch. Lost him. Runners at the corners with 1 out. L.J. Ho's coming up. Second walk for Martin Perez tonight. Now talking about Martin Perez, we'll take a look at our Kubota power stats tonight against the Astros. Something we mentioned to you before. 3 career starts against Houston. A perfect 3-0 with a $1.50 ERA. 190 is the average that the Astros have compiled against it. First career complete game came back here 2 years ago almost. August 13th of 2013. Came within a couple of strikes, or 1 strike I guess it was, of having his first complete game shutout. Gave up a home run to Chris Carter. And he's looking for another double play here. Got runners at first and third. L.J. Ho's back up from AAA just recently. Takes the first pitch for strike 1. Ho's, like Singleton, had 70 games this year at AAA. Hit 327. This is second stint with the Astros this year. Line drive, base hit to right field. That'll score Gaddis. Stopping at second is Singleton. The Astros, on the L.J. Ho's base hit, take a 1-0 lead. Ho's with his first big league RBI this year.
Perez trying to go with a fastball, stayed up and out over the middle of the plate. Ho's just went with it. To the right field, driving the first run for the Astros tonight.
So a run on a triple, a walk, and a single. Astros, third best record in the American League when they score first. They are 19-3 at home. That was the third best home winning record when you score first. And that's important.
Yeah,
the Astros is a team that, if you get down to them, they know how to play and very effectively at home with a lead.
Yeah, you want to be the team that scores first, obviously, but it doesn't mean that if you don't, you don't have a chance to win the ball game. But a team that, especially a team like the Astros at home, they play tough. They play very well here. Getting down to them early makes it that much harder, that much more difficult, because obviously you look at that record 19-3. That tells you that they continue to score runs and they know how to keep the opposition down.
A.J. Hinch in his first year as a manager, and also a young ball club. I would think that every chance they get to have a positive outcome, they're going to take it. And the second double play in as many innings. That ends the Astros' second, but not before Houston comes up with a run on 2 hits, and they leave 1. After 2, it's the Astros 1, the Rangers 0. Fans will receive a Rangers cowboy hat courtesy of Coca-Cola and Walmart. Don't miss out on this must-have accessory to your wardrobe. Visit TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS if you prefer. Now the Rangers come to bat here in the top of the 3rd inning. And we'll take a look at that end of the bottom of the 2nd inning. Pretty nice double play. The second one turned by the Rangers tonight.
Great play by Odor. Comes through the line, knows exactly where the bag is, where Elvis is going to be, gives him a no-look flip. Elvis finishes it off. You look at this play here and you think, okay, he can tag the runner that's coming, but remember there's a runner at third base, so you don't want to take that chance. Seeing that run score, so great play by Odor.
And Delano to Shields at the top of the Ranger order, starting things off here in the 3rd inning. Delano finds himself now down in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. DeShields a strikeout as he led the ball game off tonight for the Rangers. He's the only strikeout that Colin McHugh has registered so far this evening. 0-2 pitch. Poked down the right field line, and Rasmus, who was playing toward the line, made up a lot of ground in a hurry, but it was out of his reach. Still 0-2. Delino now 5 for 20 since coming back off a disabled list. 3 of his last 5 hits have gone for extra bases. He's starting to get that part of his game back in order also. 1-2. Remember, Delino missed a little better than 3 weeks, that left hamstring strain. McHugh to the wind, back to the plate he comes. 2-2.
Shields is very good at not panicking when he gets to 2 strikes. You'll see a lot of young hitters get to the big leagues and they fall behind late in the count, or they're down 1-2 or 0-2, and they feel, hey, I've really got to put the ball in play, and they'll swing at pretty much anything that you throw up there. But Lionel doesn't worry about that. He still looks for his pitch. If it's close around the strike zone, he's typically going to put the ball in play. But his 2-strike approach is just amazing for a young player.
We often heard it said about Michael Young that he didn't mind hitting with 2 strikes. That not that he preferred it, but he didn't mind it when they got that far. Looks like the same kind of thing maybe in a budding hitter like Delino.
Right. Most good hitters don't care what the count is. If it's 2 strikes, it doesn't matter. They may change their approach a little bit when it's 2 strikes. Usually, middle of the order guy doesn't change his approach much. But a guy at the top of the order may, just, hey, I'm going to make sure I put the ball in play, take it the other way because I, need to use my legs, my wheels. But yeah, most good hitters, it doesn't matter to them if it's 2 strikes, 1 strike, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's fouled out of play. Delino getting set now to face the 9th pitch of this at bat against Colin McHugh. And as a leadoff hitter, whether it's the start of the ball game or, in this case, the 3rd inning, working that pitcher, making him throw, making him work deep into the count. Get a lot of pitches under your belt. There's a base hit to left field. He got to a point where McHugh hung him a breaking ball, or hung it up high enough to get some pretty good wood on it. Well, there's the leadoff single for DeShields.
Great at bat by DeShields, falls behind 0-2 and gets 7 more pitches and finally gets one, a hanging breaking ball out over the middle of the plate, dumps it into left field. It's a great at bat. This is exactly why he's continued to get that consistent playing time, because he finds a way to get on base no matter what, whether it's a walk or he puts a tough at bat on a pitcher and gets on with a hit.
People are going to look at that replay we just had and say, well, that's not a hanging breaking ball. It wasn't up that high. Hanging doesn't necessarily mean it's high. Hanging means it didn't get way out toward the outer half of the plate, or outer third of the plate either. Now, you can hang a ball knee high right down the middle.
Yes, you can.
Matter of fact, knee high right down the middle is not a good place to pitch most people.
No, not big leaguers.
No.
No.
It's kind of like where they like to drop the head of the bat on it and make those loud sounds. Here's Rougned Odor, who single in the 1st inning. Got the Ranger run started at 4 straight hitters. Unfortunately, Rougned shot down trying to stretch it to a double. Hitting here with DeShields at first, nobody out in the 3rd. Rangers trailing 1-0. Odor now at 246 with the average. One ball and 1 strike. You mentioned on Sunday that average, the significance of the average being above 244. He was hitting 144 when he came back from AAA. That was on the 15th of June. So this late in the year to raise your average 100 points, that takes an awful lot of good hitting for a long period of time. That's exactly what Odor has done. Coming into play tonight, he was hitting .350 in his 23 games since coming back to the big leagues.
That's not an easy thing to do. It's easy, maybe the first month of the season when you're under 100 bats, but as soon as you get over that 100 mark plateau, it's tough.
Chopper to Singleton at first, but it's in foul territory. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
The thing I like about that is, he's continued to hit. It wasn't something, hey, he's excited to be back in the big leagues and, had a great first week. It's been 5 weeks now, and he's continued to hit the ball consistently hard and find holes consistently.
And he's really in a happy spot for himself right here in Houston. This is the place where he had his first major league home run back in May of 2014. There goes DeShields. The pitch is hit high in the air to right field. Down the line. DeShields has no idea where the ball is. Rasmus makes the catch. The throw back behind, it's a double play. DeShields got completely faked out by Correa and Altuve. And it turns into a 9-3 double play.
Yeah, that's one of those, a rookie mistake, basically. When you go in something like that, as you're running, you may or may not hear the ball hit the bat. But the first thing that you're taught to do is find your third base coach. And the entire time, Tony Beasley's waving him back, and he's not looking. He's looking for the ball, and that's the wrong thing to do. He never picked up Tony Beasley. You've got to look at that third base coach because he's the only one on the field that's not going to lie to you. Those guys out there in the orange jerseys, they will lie.
Doing all kinds of stuff, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And Jay Stingler going to sit down there next to him and talk to Delino about that play. Prince Fielder taking one the other way, but it's fouled off to the third base side. And the count is 1 ball, 1 strike. Prince shot one right down the third baseline for a solid base hit his first time up. Now at 341 with the average. Prince still second in the American League with that average. And Miguel Cabrera on the disabled list hitting at 350. Here's a line drive down the right field line. That is in. Rasmus cuts it off. He'll hold Fielder to another single. Prince has literally gone line to line in this ball game. He's 2 for 2. Another multi-hit game. And for Prince Fielder, that is the 38th of the year. 38th multi-hit game for Prince Fielder this year. That is far and away the major league leader.
It's really hard to believe he got another multi-hit game already.
Isn't it, though?
He's doing a great job. I mean, you look at this, it looks like a breaking ball on the inside part of the plate. Prince gets that head to it after hitting the ball down the left field line, just a couple of feet inside the foul line over there. Wow, look at that, 38. Josh Donaldson, 6 behind.
No, Fielder on again. Here's Adrian Beltre. He lines it to center. Marisnik, though, able to get a good jump and make the catch chest high. Now, Adrian hit it on the nose, but Rangers gone. No runs on 2 hits. They strand a runner after 2.5. Astros 1, Rangers nothing. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Well, the Astros coming about here in the bottom of the 3rd inning, leading 1-0. Ranger fans down here to root on the Rangers in this Silver Boot Series game. Jake Marisnik, the number 9 hitter, leading things off, swings through a Martin Perez fastball for strike 1. Marisnik, a .239 average, 5 home runs, and 21 driven in. Marisnik, another acquisition by the Astros, really made an impact on this Astros lineup. Came over from the Miami Marlins. He has fit in as part of the foundation for this Astro ball club. 2-1 pitch. To left field to Shields, over to the corner. Have to play it on a bounce. Marisnik going for 2. Here comes the throw. It's a little bit offline, and Marisnik aboard with a leadoff double. Boy, he can fly.
No substitute for speed.
Ninth double of the year for Marisnik, and he was thinking 2 right out of the box.
And that's what you've got to do, especially when you've got that kind of speed. He gets out in front of this pitch and hooks it down the left field line, and that's all he's thinking. The Shields gets over, makes a great play, cutting it off before he gets to the wall. But even if he throws a strike into second base to Odor, Marisnik is going to beat it.
So Marisnik, a leadoff 2-bagger. Astros now have the leadoff man aboard in each of the 3 innings tonight. 2 of them with extra base hits. Last inning, Evan Gattis tripled. He came in to score. Now Marisnik has doubled. And it's Jose Altuve for his second at bat, trying to advance him or scoring. First pitch low and inside for ball 1. Altuve drew a 4-pitch walk to begin proceedings here tonight for the Astros. He immediately doubled off, or double play, I should say, removed him. Marwin Gonzalez grounded into a 6-4-3 double play. Changeup floats down and away. It's 2 balls, no strikes. Martin Perez getting ready to throw his 39th pitch of the night. The pitch counts have not been a problem, but pitching to a guy who's a .344 lifetime hitter against left-handed pitchers. That's Jose Altuve. This one's driven to right field. Hamilton's going back. It's over his head. 1 hop and up against the wall. Marisnik around third will score into second with an RBI double as Altuve. And the Astros lead it 2-0.
Well, Altuve trying to take the ball the other way to get Marisnik over to third base with less than 2 outs, and he did a little bit more than that. Got a pitch on the inside part of the plate. And drove it over Josh's head out in right field. 1 hops the wall. Gets into second base easily.
Well, the Astros now 2 runs on 4 hits. 3 of the 4 hits have gone for extra bases. Marwin Gonzalez up there now in the same position that Altuve was in before. Runner at second, nobody out. Gonzalez trying to bunt and fouled it back to the screen. Gonzalez grounded into that 6-4-3 double play in the first inning. 0 for 1 tonight, currently hitting at .251. Gonzalez has had hits in each of the 2 games prior to tonight. And he loops one into center. That's a base hit. Altuve being waved around third. Here comes the throw. They got him at the plate by a mile. Altuve is out. Down to second goes Gonzalez. Another man nailed at home plate by Leonys Martin.
Wow, look at that arm. Great throw by Martin. Did everything the right way.
That's shocking with Gary Pettis down there at third base.
That's really shocking. Gary has taught Leonys a lot about playing the outfield, how to come get that ball, which he did. Perfect stride, came up, 1 hopper, strike to Robbie right there at the plate. Not much of a chance there.
Leonis Martin now with 11 outfield assists. That leads all American League center fielders. No, with Gonzalez at second base and one away. Here's Carlos Correa. Yeah, Gary Pettis saw that for how many years? 4 years?
Yes,
And,
long time.
And as you mentioned, worked with Leonis Martin and taught him the finer points of playing the outfield. Gary just got his clock cleaned on that one.
It's surprising, especially
Yeah.
with nobody out in the middle of the order coming
Right.
up.
But the Rangers certainly will take that.
Definitely.
Correa rounded out to the right side his first time up. Martin stepping back off the pitching rubber as Gonzalez was kind of bouncing around out there at second. Rougned Odor not very far away from the bag in his positioning with the right-handed hitting Correa up there. 0-1 the count. And a fastball right through there. 0-2. Correa, a 2-game hitting streak. He has had a little bit of a downturn himself. He was 2 for his last 13 trips to the plate. 1-2. Well, Martin Perez trying to figure out a way to get out of this inning. He has a run in, a runner at second, and 1 out. And a pickoff at second with Rougned Odor sneaking in. That play was a little slow developing, and I don't think Martin saw Odor break to the bag initially. And by the time he picked him up, it was easy for Gonzalez to get back to the bag.
Yeah, pickoffs at second base were always something that, well, I didn't particularly like. I thought the pitcher had enough to deal with trying to throw strikes there. Now, if there was somebody, a guy that didn't run well, that was getting off and was lazy getting back to the bag, then for me it wasn't an issue.
The ground ball by Elvis into left center. That's a base hit. Around third, in to score is Gonzalez. The RBI single by Correa, and the Astros lead it 3-0. Carlos Correa with his 20th RBI in 33 games.
Got a breaking ball out over the middle of the plate from Perez. Correa just takes it right back up the middle, just out of the outstretched arms of Elvis.
No, Mike Maddox out to slow things down a little bit from Martin Perez. Ranger bullpen will start to get busy. And, this is not unexpected, and it's not like Martin Perez is getting bludgeoned out here.
Right.
Yeah, but he's missing by enough that the Astro hitters are taking advantage of him. And the command is, as we mentioned early on for Martin Perez, or anybody coming back from a long layoff, is going to be suspect the first few times out.
Right. I like his velocity. He's been 92 to 95 with the fastball. But like you said, it's that command. He's not able to hit his spots. Now, he's not far off, but it just seems as though when he's missing out over the middle of the plate. And that's what makes it really tough. When you miss out over the plate to big league hitters, you're typically going to do some pretty good damage.
Evan Gattis shoots one foul to the right. It is 0-1. Yeah, and it's the pitch that typically that is the pitch you want as an out pitch, where you have to make that pitch in the count and what you've set up the hitter for. And Martin's command just off enough to where he's missing maybe half a plate or so. Right. Or letting the ball sneak up a little bit too high in the strike zone. Gattis had that triple and scored his first time. Lines one to left for a base hit. Stopping at second, Correa. That is 5 consecutive hits now here in the third inning. 2 on with 1 out for Colby Rasmus. And before Rasmus steps in, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you very much. And that conference concluded. And now Colby Rasmus, he got a pitch that hung up there. It looked like a breaking ball that stayed up about shoulder high and fouled it straight back.
Oh, yeah, he wants that one back.
If you're going to hang him way up there like that, where it's hard to get on top of.
Hang him up on the second shelf? Yeah,
exactly. Make him get a step ladder to reach it. Rasmus, a strikeout victim, his first time up there. He's got Correa at second, Gaddis at first. One ball and one strike. Rasmus, if you remember the last time that we faced the Astros, picked his spots when he had a chance to play, mostly against right-handers, and he would crush a mistake every now and then. He has that kind of power, and he hits a double play ground ball to Elvis. He'll take it to the bag himself on to Moreland. The 6-3 double play, and that closes the third inning. But the Astros strike for 2 on 5 hits. They leave 1 after 3. 3-0 Houston. Event. Your ticket includes a pregame buffet in the Hall of Fame, a merchandise goodie bag worth $75, a Q&A session with Rangers' wives, a back-to-school fashion show, a ticket to the game against the Astros, and a lot more. Visit TexasRangers.com/fashion to learn more and to get your tickets. The Rangers definitely have some work to do now. They are trailing 3-0 as Mitch Moreland leads off the top of the 4th inning. Hits are even at 7 in this ball game. A lot of base hits, but only 3 runs so far have been scored by Houston. It's a check swing, and that ultra slow curveball dips in. It's 0-2. Moreland had a base hit to right his first time up. Colin McHugh maybe had to ask directions to the mound. He hasn't had a lead to work with it so long, he might have thought he was in the wrong ballpark. He gets Moreland on 3 pitches, all of them very slow curveballs. 1 gone.
That's a tough pitch to lay off of when it's that slow. Mitch tried to on the second strike, but McHugh came right back with it again.
McHugh with his second strikeout of the evening. That's how the 4th begins. And here's Josh Hamilton. Hamilton up with the bases loaded in the 1st inning. And, was jammed by a McHugh fastball and grounded to first to end the Ranger first. Rangers had 4 hits and no runs in that 1st inning. 1-0 pitch. It's out of play. Right over the Ranger dugout. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hamilton at 235 now. McHugh to the wind, back to the plate. Another foul off to the left. Josh, in his last 10 ball games, is that number will tell you right there, just a 219 average. He's 2 for his last 18 in a shorter sample. That the last 5 ball games, plus the 1 at bat here. And he's gone on strikes as McHugh climbed the ladder. Back-to-back strikeouts, 3 on the evening. And with 2 outs and bases empty, Elvis Andrus will come up.
McHugh went back to the fastball, took it up in the zone this time. Last time up, he used the fastball in to jam Josh. Now he goes high up in the zone to get it.
Elvis had an infield single just to the right of where Jose Altuve is stationed. 1 ball, no strikes. Altuve had to go far to his left, and by the time he gloved it, couldn't really get himself lined up to make a strong throw. And Elvis able to leg it out. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, Elvis now a 4-game hitting streak going. He is 5 for 10 over those 4 games. He has gotten his average up to as high as 251 this year. He pulls that one foul. And it's been very much a roller coaster affair for Elvis and most of the Ranger hitters, to be quite honest. His consistency has been markedly absent offensively, with the exception of Prince Fielder. Pop foul. Singleton will watch this go back about 6 rows out of play. 2-2.
Yeah, that's been one of the big things, really, just the inconsistency of the hitters, the offense. They can, it's tough to get it going, number one, and then to sustain it for a period of time, a week, 10 days, or 2 weeks, throws everything else into flux. You look at, if you're not hitting, that means you don't really have much of a running game. Mm-hmm. Even though the Rangers are 4th in the league in stolen bases, there are some guys that if they're getting on more, Elvis being one of them, they can steal more. That number goes up. So,
right.
When you've got guys who are just being inconsistent on the offensive end, it makes it tough.
McHugh ends up striking out the side in order. Rangers gone. We finished 3.5 down here in Houston. It's the Astros 3 and the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. Now Martin Perez out to the hill, and the old number 7 or number 9 or whatever that train number happens to be up there, the Minute Maid Express. Great looking ballpark down here. Boy, this has really been a palace for baseball in the Houston area. Astros coming to bat here in the bottom of the 4th inning. John Singleton starting things off. And he fouls that first pitch high in the air and run out of play to the left. Singleton drew a walk back in the 2nd inning. In case you missed it, Singleton was not in the starting lineup. He came on to replace the injured Chris Carter. Carter sprained an ankle in the 2nd defensively. And Singleton had to come on then and take over. 0-2 the count. Martin Perez trying to get things back on track. Gave up a run in the 2nd. He gave up 2 more in the 3rd. 1-2. Martin, we mentioned, had 6 rehab assignments. His last one, I think 5 days ago. Worked for the Round Rock Express down in New Orleans, or against New Orleans, I should say. Took the loss in that ball game. Worked 6 innings, gave up 12 hits and 5 runs. 7-4 loss. 98 pitches, or 96 pitches for Martin in that ball game. Left-hander reading the signs. Now the 1-2 pitch. That will even the count. Well, the Rangers with both Martin Perez and Matt Harrison trying to work their way back into tip-top pitching condition. Nothing wrong with them physically. It's just a matter of getting everything back together competitively at the major league level again. That's not easy to do.
No, it's not. And typically it's more than just the physical part that you've got to get over once you have an injury. It's more the mental aspect of it. You know, you hurt something, and then you go through your rehab or surgery or whatever it is, and you get back to the major league level. And when you're trying to do what you did before, you've got to get your mind wrapped around.
Right. Singleton flares one into center for a leadoff base hit. There's 4 straight innings now that the Astros have had their leadoff man aboard. Folks, tomorrow the quarterfinals of the 2015 CONCACAF Gold Cup, and sponsored by Chevrolet. It begins with Clint Dempsey and Team USA continuing their quest for a 2nd consecutive Gold Cup title. They take on Cuba. Coverage begins at 3:30 on your local Fox station and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Ground ball back to Perez. He deflects it over to Beltre, who gets the out, but he had a perfect double play ball, and Martin Perez couldn't glove it. No, it goes 1-5-3 on the put out at first, into second. There's John Singleton, and Martin Perez a little dismayed.
And that's just reflex. As an athlete, as a pitcher, it doesn't matter. If you see the ball coming at you, you're going to react. Your first reaction is catch it.
Yeah.
It's not, let that go right to my shortstop. He's right there. But I think, as time goes on, he'll be aware of that, and he may be able to hold back, pull back, and let that ball go through. But instinctively, you see the ball, I'm going to catch it.
I was thinking along the lines, if he caught the ball, he had a perfect and easy double play at second base. All you do is make the throw, and it was fairly routine. But yeah, you're right about that too, Mac. That tells you what kind of a fielder I was. I never even thought about with a shortstop. I was going to catch everything. That's what they gave me a glove for, wasn't it?
Well, as a middle infielder, I saw it happen enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, didn't you know I was right behind you? I had that.
No, you're right, and that does take time to figure all that stuff out. Jason Castro is swinging a miss.
You know, especially on when the ball's hit to your bare hand side.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, you're going to use whatever you have to catch the ball, and you don't think, okay, I don't have a glove on that hand, and I'm going to catch it. You know, it just happens.
Not a good idea, but
no, not most of the time.
Not usually. 1-1 pitch to Castro. That's out of play.
Now, I remember play Kevin Mitchell.
Yeah.
Back in '86 when he was with the Mets. Ball down the left field line, and he's going out there, and he kind of underran the ball.
Yeah.
And the only thing he could use was his bare hand, and he stuck that big paw up, and it went right in there.
Yeah.
Didn't bobble it, nothing. Caught it nice and clean.
And stuck.
I
remember seeing highlights of that thing for, I don't know, years probably after that.
Oh, yeah.
Perez with a 1-2 pitch. Rolled to the right side. Easy play for Odor. On to third goes Singleton. He's there with 2 outs, though. And Jake Marisnik coming up. Yeah, I remember thinking that the first time I saw that replay, I thought, why did he not use his glove? He was over there, looked like he was camped underneath, and he just decided to use his bare hand.
No camping whatsoever. If he was camped out, he was in the wrong park.
Yeah.
He underran that ball.
Oh, man. Marisnik had a double into the left field corner, or close to the corner, right down the line. His speed got him the double. 0-1 on the swing. Well, Marisnik now a .243 average. He spent a little time on the disabled list. Earlier, he had a hamstring strain. Broken bat, and the ground ball cut off by Beltre. That'll do it. No runs, a hit, and 1 man left for the Astros. Martin Perez walking off the hill. Back to the dugout. The Rangers trailing 3-0.
Here in Houston, Texas, as we welcome you back to Minute Maid Park, and whenever we hit the road, we try to tell fans where the best places to eat in these towns that we go back to recurringly. I've already told a bunch of fans about the best Mexican food I've found in all of Houston, and it's easy. It's very close to the ballpark. Only about 2 blocks away from the ballpark, you will find a place that I call Irma's. The Spanish speakers call it Irma's. They roll the R a little bit better than I can, but take a look at this beautiful Mexican food. There's the queso with a little bit of taco meat on top and some beautiful queso. It's delicious. Absolutely great queso as your appetizer. I had the pork carnitas today. I'm telling you, every bite was a flavor explosion with those pork carnitas today. And believe it or not, the piece de resistance, the thing you have to have, what was featured on the Food Network from Irma's is what they call the lemonade. It's actually more of a melonade. It's got lots of melon in it. It's got lemons. It's all kinds of fruit. And the Food Network came trying to figure out how they made such tasty lemonade. I drank about a pitcher of it, guys. So when I disappear for extended periods of the time later in the game, you'll know why. It's great stuff. Irma's, just down from the ballpark here, guys.
All right, thank you.
I think I know where I'm eating lunch tomorrow. Bro.
Yeah, there you go. Irma's. Good. Jonas Martin, 0 for 1 tonight, having grounded into a double play his first time. It's that right on the fist, and a one hopper picked off by Singleton, one gone. Well, Colin McHugh now has retired 5 straight, and he will face Robinson Chirinos. Chirinos, a ground ball to short, back in the second inning. The Rangers have made some noise at times tonight. They had 4 hits without scoring in the first inning. Had a leadoff single and then a double play in the second. Same thing in the third, leadoff single, double play. That was followed by a Prince Fielder single. However, McHugh, last inning, struck out the side in order. Chirinos, a .212 average. 8 home runs, 27 driven in. A ball and a strike. McHugh, a pretty tidy pitch count. In mid-60s right now. He has had pretty good history of going fairly deep into ball games. He had back-to-back 8-inning outings at the end of June. Last time out, he went 7 innings against the Tampa Bay Rays and lost. There's a base hit into left field. Cut off by Hose. That's going to hold Chirinos to a long single. Oh, 1-out base hit as Robinson aboard takes the Rangers back to the top of the order for Delino DeShields. Let's take a look at our upcoming pitchers, brought to you by Chevron. Tomorrow it'll be Colby Lewis and former Ranger Scott Feldman. Feldman going to be activated off the disabled list for tomorrow night's start. 6 o'clock start on Fox Sports Southwest. A 1 on, 1 out here in the 5th inning. Delino DeShields 1 for 2. Had a single his last time up after striking out in the first inning. That big slow bender that Delino checked his swing on for ball 1. DeShields, as you can see now, at .269 with the average. He's had at least 1 hit now in each of his last 2 ball games. That pitch upstairs, the appeal down to first. And first base umpire Tony Randazzo said no swing, 2 balls, no strikes. Delino, a Rule 5 draft by the Rangers from the Astros AA affiliate. It was with Corpus Christi last year. Two and 1. And Delino kind of plays down the idea of coming back playing against his former organization. But you know there has to be a little bit down deep in there that Delino would just love to do well against the Astros.
Well, I really don't think, number one, that it's down very deep. And I think it's more than just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it before. Every player, no matter what terms you leave a team under, you want to do well against that team.
Yeah.
You just do. It's the competitive nature of every athlete. You want to do well against a team that, you may have left in free agency or released you or they traded you. You want to do well against that team to say whatever it is that you want to say. Hey, see what you're missing, or aha, take this. We're going to knock you guys off.
Right.
You want to do well against your former team. It's kind of an unwritten rule too.
You have to feel that way.
Yes.
There's a base hit. Delino got one again, staying up. Into second is Chirinos. Delino now 2 for 3. No, 2 on with 1 out. Rougned Odor coming up.
Gets another hanging breaking ball. Pretty much the same spot as the last one, maybe a touch higher, but does the same exact thing. Hits this one a little bit better. Same result.
Jason Castro out quickly to talk to Colin McHugh. McHugh now has allowed 9 hits tonight. He has just 1 out here in the 5th inning, but he has yet to be scored upon. Rangers have not had an extra base hit against him. Rougned Odor has one of those 9 hits. That was a first inning single that he was thrown out trying to stretch into a double. Last time up, flied out into a double play. 1 ball, no strikes. Rougned a .244 average. Trying to get the Rangers on the board. It's a little bit high and outside. 2-0.
Now that's one of the adjustments that Ruby's made since going back down to the minor leagues and coming back to the big leagues. That first month of the season, he was swinging at any fastball up in the zone, and most of the time not making contact in their balls. And now that he's been back, you can see that he takes most of them. He still occasionally will swing at one, but he takes the majority of them.
Pitches inside, 3 balls and no strikes. Now McHugh getting himself into a pretty deep hole. He's got Odor hitting in the number 2 slot. Following him is the Ranger designated hitter. That would be Prince Fielder. 2 on with just 1 out.
Who already has 2 hits on him.
He threw a 3-0 breaking ball to Odor.
I don't know what to say on that.
I don't either.
I just
just for folks that are interested, that was what it was. No analysis, no.
None. None to give, really. No. I'm baffled.
Altuve, the second. Correa back to first, not in time. And down at second, the liner of the shield slid in hard, trying to up in Correa. And got up a little bit slowly. He's all right, though, coming off the field. Boy, after Adrian Beltre jamming his thumb at a bag, you get a wince a little bit every time you see somebody do that at second. That left hand right on the bag and jamming it against it.
You know, I don't think guys realize that you don't actually have to touch the bag. You just have to be able to touch the bag. And, you know, throwing that hand into the bag like that is very, very scary. I know he's not feeling good with it right now.
Now, pitching coach Brent Strom out to the mound. He's going to have a little session with Colin McHugh with Prince Fielder coming up. And again, you know, you have a 3-0 lead and you have 2 outs, runners at first and third. You have an open base. It's second base, granted, but you still really can pick and choose. Do you want to pitch to Fielder necessarily, or do you want to pass by him and take a chance with Beltre? Now, the Coors Light cold hard fact tonight: Prince Fielder and Albert Pujols, the only 2 players with a slugging percentage of over 500 and fewer than 40 strikeouts this year. Cold hard fact brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Now we'll see what they decided to do with Fielder. Throw him a high fastball and hope for the best. Strike 1. Prince tonight is single to left, single to right. Average at .343, another multi-hit game. That's 38 for the year. He's batting with Chirinos at third, Odor at first. Got him reaching for one, a little pop-up coming down the line, and Castro in foul territory, making the catch in front of Marwin Gonzalez, and that's pretty heady pitching, I'll tell you what, by Colin McHugh. Rangers, no runs, 2 hits, 2 left. Halfway through the ball game, the Astros leading the Rangers 3-0. The Tampa Bay Rays will enjoy a special post-game fireworks show set to Star Wars music. And there'll also be special appearances by Star Wars characters on the concourse. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials and use the coupon code FIREWORKS for $14 upper reserve tickets. The Rangers have been throttled at every opportunity by Colin McHugh so far. Jose Altuve leading off, a chopper to Elvis, who gets rid of it in a hurry and just gets the speedy Jose Altuve for out number one.
Wow.
Nice play by Elvis. You talk about getting rid of the ball quickly. Elvis did exactly that.
Elvis knows Altuve can get down that line, and Altuve's already, pretty much a swinging bunt, really. And Elvis knew he had to come get it. Got it on the right foot. Got it out on the next step, and that was the only way to get Altuve. And again, he makes it look easy, and that's not.
So one gone. Here's Marwin Gonzalez, who is 1 for 2. Gonzalez singled and scored in the third inning. Also has grounded into a double play tonight. Rangers have turned 3 double plays behind Martin Perez. Gonzalez a .255 average. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ranger fans remember Marwin Gonzalez from a couple of years ago, the 9th inning single against Yu Darvish in this ballpark. Breaking up Darvish's perfect game bid. 2 outs in the 9th inning. 26 up, 26 down. Gonzalez hitting right back through the wickets. And Yu Darvish couldn't get the glove down quickly enough.
Yeah, that was incredible. Everybody felt it. The Astros fans were into it. And what do you know?
Yep.
Just missed it.
1-2. That will even the count.
Does a play like that make you work on a little extra PFP?
No. Hard part about that play is getting to where you had 26 up and 26 down. That's the hard part. And another chopper foul. Yeah, I think if you'd asked Yu Darvish after the ball game, said, I probably should have had that. Maybe I will take some extra fielding practice, just in case. And it wasn't, about a year later that he got close against the Red Sox at home. I would imagine that sometime in his career he's going to rack up 1, 2, maybe 3 more opportunities.
Yeah, I don't have any question about that. I think he will. So there are just days when his stuff is just that good.
Yeah. Yeah. Perez back with a payoff pitch. That's line to left, a base hit. Gonzalez with his second safety of the evening is aboard with 1 out. Well, before Carlos Correa steps into the batter's box, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Carlos Correa, an RBI single in the third inning. He drove in his 20th run of the year. Takes a little bit low for ball 1. Correa now a .279 average with 20 RBI, 7 home runs. And a reminder that this is just his 33rd game at the big league level this year.
numbers he's put up in 32 games, 32 and a half games. They're just incredible. 7 home runs, 20 RBIs. You look at some of the other guys that have been here all year long, and those are pretty much their numbers.
Yep. On the outside corner for a strike, that evens things up. Yeah, Correa, the American League Rookie of the Month for the month of June. Became the 6th Astros player to ever win that award. Last one to win it, Colin McHugh back in September of last year. 1-1 pitch coming. Now 2-1. George Springer also won that award a year ago, May. Correa getting back in. Martin Perez, a check of first. He will go that way with a toss. We showed you that statistic before about Carlos Correa. His 7 home runs, that's the second most homers by an American League shortstop, behind Marcus Semien of the A's. Semien, as we remember from when the A's were in town, played almost every inning of every game this year.
He's only ahead of him by 1 with 8, so I'm sure Correa will take that over at some point after Sunday.
Spencer Patton loosening in the Ranger bullpen. The 2-1 pitch. You think back over the Astros teams of the past, they've had some pretty good home run hitters down here. Going back to guys like Jimmy Wynn and people like that. But Bagwell and folks. 7 home runs are the most ever by an Astros player in the first 32 games.
Wow.
Ever. Now you're going back to 1962 for that.
You're going back to some pretty good players.
Yeah. Well, Martin Perez tonight has had the 2-ball working. The first 3 innings, he had 3 double plays behind him. Nicely turned by Odor and Andrews. And Elvis decided I'll do it myself. Saved a lot of wear and tear on Martin tonight.
And could have had a 4th.
Could have had a 4th.
Ball off of his glove.
Yeah.
But hey, they still got an out. That's what's important.
Would have had a 4th had he either caught it or let it go completely.
Right.
Take your pick. And he chose D. None of the above. Slapped it right over to Adrian Beltre. Now, it's a good idea to give Adrian the ball every time you get a chance defensively.
This is true.
Correa back in, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 on and 1 out. Got him swinging. Good sharp breaking ball down and in. Correa gone on strikes. Martin Perez with punch out number 2 this evening.
Nice pitch by Martin. Breaking ball, back foot curveball, gets it down. Correa thought he had it. Perfect spot for Perez.
Well, Evan Gattis now, who is 2 for 2, will step in. Gattis has tripled and singled. He has scored a run. Gattis now hitting at 245. Perez, after a long look in, is set. 0-1.
That cannot be a good look with Gattis up there in the box for a pitcher, because he's just got a club, and he's just saying, please throw it in here to me.
He's a very menacing figure in that batter's box. All hunched over like that. Kind of like a bear ready to spring out of his trap, or out of his cave.
Because who was that guy for you that used to get in the box and was just an imposing figure?
Probably Willie Horton.
Wow.
Horton was a large man, and he filled up most of the batter's box. And reputation was he got angry pretty quickly, and you didn't really want to see Willie angry.
That's hard to believe. He's such a nice guy.
He is.
And
yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see him play very much as a kid. I got to meet him, obviously, over the course of my career. And I just don't see it. I believe you.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. He is a great guy.
Yeah.
And he also is a lot smaller now than he was. That just pops another one foul. He or Dick Allen. And Dick was very Dick also used about a 38 or 39 ounce bat. And once you found that out, you realized this is probably a guy you don't want to mess with too much. Because he would hit the most god-awful line drives the other way. Just ridiculous. You didn't want him hitting the ball up the middle. Pretty good changeup. Martin Perez just outside.
What about a guy like Frank Howard?
Yeah, well, Frank, you could pitch to. I mean, for a right-hander, you could pitch to him because there was an area where he would hit the ball back up the middle. You learned how to stay away from that real fast. But his swing is fairly long, and I never saw Frank when he was younger. And I mean, I saw him, but I did not pitch against him, which is fortunate.
Yeah, I can only imagine because he was imposing as a first base coach, running to the first base box. Yeah. I made sure I stayed away.
And there again, one of the nicest human beings in the world. Yeah, but in competition, guys tend to flip that switch a little bit. You walk out there between the white lines. But Mr. Nice Guy very rarely shows up.
Yeah.
Gaddis. And, every game it seems like we say it. Robinson Chirinos gets another foul tip. That guy gets more foul tips. Arms, shoulders, especially the mask, of anybody I've ever seen.
That's a tough position. That is a tough position. Oh,
right on the hand. Yeah, that's going to be sore for a while, I would think.
Yeah, that's probably going to require a day off tomorrow. Come back for the day game Sunday.
And Beltray is saying something like, "Hey, come on, what'd you come out here for with that? You just got hit by a little foul tip." What Robinson did. In case you missed it, Carlos Corcoran now is on the disabled list. He had that jammed left thumb has been bothering him for about 3 weeks since he got that foul tip. Yeah, finally, I go on the DL. Tomas Telis is now up as the backup catcher for the Rangers. And Telis probably getting a little bit of the butterflies over there after seeing that foul tip. Starting to get the gear on, and just in case. 2-2 now to Gaddis.
Yeah, with Corpy, that's got to be a tough thing to come back from. Especially when you're catching and you're getting a pitch, every time the pitcher throws it.
Yeah.
You look at Beltray, and he's not getting, he's not catching a baseball 130, 140 times a game.
Yeah, you were going to say less than that, weren't you?
I was.
Then you remember. 105, 110. No, we got to go up north Florida. Maybe 150, 160.
You got me.
Elvis will take care of this one. Goes a short way for the force on the sliding Gonzalez. So that'll do it for the Astros. No runs a hit and one left. After 5 complete down here in Houston. Astros 3, Rangers nothing. prize jackpot is worth $200 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during the inning, Norma Clark from Dallas will win $200. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam during this inning, Norma's going to take home $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, Norma, hang on. You got a pretty good opportunity here with Beltre, Moreland, and Hamilton coming up to face Colin McHugh. Rangers could use a couple of slams. Trailing 3-0. Beltre, 1 out of 2. He's hit the ball hard both times tonight against Colin McHugh. 0-1. Beltre had a solid single to left field his first time up. Last time up, he hit the ball harder than he did on the base hit and lined to center field. Adrian taking a shot at the Crawford boxes and beyond. Came up empty. And that's one of those ones that looked like it might have stung him a little bit on that left thumb. Walking around behind home plate, taking a little extra time getting back in there. Never get Adrian to admit that.
Never.
Change up. Well, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
He's one of those guys you mentioned, Payne. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Wow, he let that one go.
Yeah. And you can see his mouth flying open and probably an inaudible scream came out. We didn't hear it, but it was probably there. Now, guys say, Mac, I don't know what your experience was with that check swings when you have a bad hand are the worst. What about a full swing like that and not making contact?
You know, I'd probably have to say a check swing
would be worse.
Yeah, because once you get it going through the zone, it's going through, and he didn't look like he had a problem getting some juice behind that swing. But when you have to stop and check it, even when your hand is feeling good, you can hurt it. You know, hurt your hand or your wrist when you do that. I kind of wish I had that problem because typically whenever I started to swing, I continued, and that wasn't always a good idea.
Correa came up with the ball and then had it pop out of his glove, and Beltre is going to be aboard. Well, that was a good get by Carlos Correa. Picked that ball up, but not able to turn it into an out. Adrian Beltre will have his second hit of the night.
Correa going to his left, got to it. Actually, he was playing a little shallow for that to be Beltre up there. Just can't make the transfer.
Let's see if the Rangers can turn that into something here. That's their 10th hit of the night off of Colin McHugh. Mitch Moreland is 1 for 2 and a first inning single. There's that big slow hook again. He saw 3 of those in succession his last time up. He's seen 4 in a row now and had not made contact with any of them. The Astros into that big overshift with Correa, the shortstop, about 15 feet to the first base side of second. Midway in that hole on the right side is the second baseman, Altuve.
I'd say it's a safe bet that he's going to see at least 1 more somewhere in this at bat.
That's the over-under. I'm going with the over on 2. High chopper over Singleton's head. Wow. It's a fair ball down that right field line. Around to third goes Beltre. Stopping at first is Moreland. Now the ball gets away. Here comes Beltre, and he will score. Heads up base running by Adrian Beltre, who went around from first to third on the hit and then was watching the play, so he saw the ball hit Moreland and ricochet off of Singleton's glove. It rolled down toward home plate, and Adrian kept on going.
Great play by Moreland, number 1, to get something other than a curveball and pull it there, knock it over Singleton's head. A high chopper hit in front of the plate and just kicked up into the outfield. And here's what you need to do as a base runner. There's only one thing on the field that can get you out, and it's the baseball. So when you're on the field, always know where it is, and that's exactly what Beltre did. He was watching the ball the whole time.
Well, that's going to be a single for Moreland, an error on the throw, and Hamilton crushes one foul down the right side.
Look at Adrian watching the play. Not even worried about the bag. He's watching the ball the entire time, and that's what you have to do. That's an alert, heads-up base runner right there.
Well, the Rangers on the board, a couple of singles, and a key throwing error. The error charged to Colby Rasmus on throw that hit Moreland. And Hamilton waving at that pitch is down in the count. No balls, 2 strikes. Josh tonight has grounded out and struck out. Rangers 1 run on 11 hits this evening. Moreland inching off the bag at first. Towering drive to right. Back at the wall is Rasmus. Up against the wall and makes the catch. Right at the top of the wall at the yellow line. At 360 feet from home plate, Rasmus plastered up against that padding on the wall, able to reach up and take Hamilton's towering fly ball.
Great play by Rasmus, just not panicking, finding the wall, getting there, not worrying about having to jump because that ball was coming straight down. If he had to, he still probably had a play on it at least a row deep, but didn't panic, knew where the wall was, made the play.
The one long out, as long an out as you can have in this ballpark and have it stay in the park. Well, Elvis Andrus 1 out of 2 takes high for ball 1. Elvis, a second inning single, a strikeout in the 4th. 244 the average for the Rangers shortstop. A little over anxious.
A little bit. You know, a lot of times when you have a really good idea of what's coming, even if it's out of the strike zone, you may swing at it.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was expecting a fastball and got it. And it was a little high and tight, and he still swung.
McHugh, a belt high set. A check of Moreland at first. Popped up off the end of the bat. Altuve, Rasmus calling him off. And Rasmus, who was playing very shallow anyway, able to get there in time. That is out number 2. No, it'll be up now to Leonys Martin if the Rangers are going to be able to keep this inning alive.
Elvis gets a slider down on the way. Pops it up, and Rasmus, who was playing shallow, made the play.
Martin 0 for 2. He has grounded out twice, once into a double play. Oh and 1. Jonas now at 220 with the batting average. Taking his time getting back in. Colin McHugh taking his time getting back on top of pitching rubber. A ball and a strike. Moreland getting the lead from first. McHugh checks it. 2 and 1. ball is hammered, but pulled foul into the third deck down the right side. I don't think that ball was ever fair. How do you hit a ball that far?
I have no clue. I never did that. I never could do it. I have no idea. It always amazed me that guys could pull a ball that far.
2-2 the count. Leon is able to lay off that breaking ball in the dirt. The count is now full. Well, Martin can extend this inning. Robinson Chirinos is the next hitter. Robinson hanging out in the on-deck circle. Rangers have a run across in the inning on a couple of hits and an error. They have 11 hits tonight. They have all been singles. Marlin will be off and moving. The payoff pitch on the way. Shallow right field. Altuve going out, making the call on the catch. And that'll do it for the Rangers. A run on 2 hits, 1 error, 1 man left after 5.5. Astros 3 and the Rangers 1. Of the season. Save nearly 50% on 4 tickets, 4 jumbo hot dogs, 4 Coke soft drinks, 2 Kids Zones wristbands, and 1 souvenir program. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials to get your Coca-Cola family packs for the August 3rd through the 5th games against these Houston Astros. Now we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. Spencer Patton has come out of the Ranger bullpen, and he will take over for Martin Perez. Perez going 5 innings, 9 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Patton appearing in his 12th ball game of the year. Spencer doing an outstanding job, unscored upon in his last 3 outings. And only a couple of outings since he came back from AAA at the end of June has he been scored upon. So Martin Perez, maybe not an unqualified success, but very much a success here tonight, giving up 3 runs and 9 hits. Had to do a lot of work with people on base and did a very effective job.
Yeah, I like what I saw out of him. You know, his velocity was there. You know, it was just the command, and we talked about that, you know, early in the pregame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the command may not be there. That's typically the last thing to come. But, you know, even so, even though the command wasn't there, it wasn't very far off.
Right.
It just so happened that everything that, you know, he missed, it was right down the middle of the plate. Not off the plate or down in the zone for a ball or even inside or up in the zone. It just ended up out over the middle of the plate. But, again, what I like about that is at least he's around the strike zone.
Right.
Just not the right area, but he's throwing strikes.
Rasmus fouls that pitch straight back. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Rasmus 0 for 2 tonight against Martin Perez. Had a strikeout, grounded into a double play. Yeah, you have to be pretty happy, too, about the way that Martin Perez was able to battle. He gave up the 9 hits, a couple of walks. So he had base runners on. And even despite the lapses of command, small lapses, still able to battle his way through it.
No question. You like that. He didn't give up, didn't back down. He just continued to battle. He made, got 3 ground ball double plays. Mm-hmm. So he made some pitches when he needed to make them.
Jeff Bannister, I'm sure after the ball game, will have some very positive things to say about Martin Perez tonight. 3-2 pitch. And that's fouled back to the screen. And as a comparison between what we saw from Martin Perez tonight and what we saw from Matt Harrison in his outing, different animals as far as what they've been through in rehabilitation.
Right.
Martin Perez had a very specific, here's called third strike, a very specific method of rehab. It's a tried and true method of, okay, you have Tommy John surgery, you lay out for this long, you do these exercises, you spend this much time. It was cut and dried. Boom, 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 boom. 14 months later, you're ready to go. Matt Harrison, on the other hand, was in uncharted waters and really didn't have, other than a very educated guess by all the medical folks, a specific roadmap to how long recovery should take, what kind of recovery you have to go through, kind of feeling his way along, and that had to be a little bit different kind of situation for the two of them.
You're right. I mean, basically what Matt Harrison is, he's the Tommy John of today. Yep. Tommy John was the first guy to go through the, obviously, Tommy John surgery. And, they figured out how to get a player back from that type of surgery, something that wasn't common back then. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. 2 totally different injuries, 2 different rehab situations. One, you don't know what you're really, doing or how to do it, how long to keep a guy out, how long you keep him doing this and doing that, to be able to come back and pitch at the major league level. It's just never happened before. So, absolutely 2 totally different things. I
remember watching Tommy in the offseason after he had the surgery and then seeing him a year later. We lived fairly close together in the offseason. And, the first offseason, he had the surgery in, I think it was July of 1975. And that first offseason, he was miserable. His hand was all in a claw, and he didn't know, he just wasn't sure. Dr. Job had not a lot of optimism at that juncture. There's back-to-back strikeouts, that he was going to get to where he needed to get, and Tommy wasn't sure either. But then all of a sudden things started turning around, and they developed that plan as you're talking about. It was several years later before the plan got finalized, but now guys go through it, and it's in black and white. If you do this for this long, you'll be at this point, then you can go on to the next point.
It's almost routine now. You have so many guys have it. We look at last year, I think there were 35, 36 guys that ended up having Tommy John. Yeah. And the majority of those were in the first half of the season. So it's obviously surgery is never routine, but that's about as routine as you can get it now.
Preston Tucker up there as a pinch hitter. He is pinch hitting for L.J. Hose, who started in left field because of the left-hander Perez on the mound. So Preston Tucker as the pinch hitter. Spencer Patton with back-to-back strikeouts. Fires another strike right on the outside corner. Tucker been utilized quite a bit this year. He is 2 for 4 as a pinch hitter. Both those hits, by the way, have left the ballpark. 2-2. Astros, one of the few teams going that, at least for right now, have 5 bench players. They have only 6 in the bullpen and 5 on the bench. Now, that may change tomorrow when Scott Feldman is activated to take the start. They may send out a position player and get back to 4. But most clubs, like the Rangers, are in that group. They have 4 on the bench, 12 in the bullpen, and starting staff. And, of course, the 9 players in any ball game. Dave Magadan, the major hitting coach, taking in things down there in his perch. 3-2 now to Preston Tucker. Payoff pitch. Shot to Beltre at third. That'll do it. Nice quick 1-2-3 inning, a couple of punch outs for Spencer Patton. Astros gone. We finished 6 in Houston. It's the Astros 3 and the Rangers 1. Show you Evan Gattis starting off the second with his 5th triple of the year. And he will come in to score. He gets hit right in the back by the relay throw. He will come in to score. Altuve then in third, driving one to the base of the wall in right field. RBI double. He came around to score. Then for the Ranger run, how about Mitch Moreland chopping one down the first base line for a base hit. The ball gets away from Singleton at first, and Adrian Beltre scored. Well, a couple of runners hit by throws and led immediately to runs. Will Harris has come out of the Houston bullpen to take over here in the 7th inning. Will Harris appearing in his 37th ball game. How about the opponent's batting average? $1.16 against the right-hander. The ERA just a little bit north of nothing.
What ERA?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, Robinson Chirinos will lead things off, and Harris fires strike 1. Well, speaking of Will Harris and the Astros bullpen, how about that bullpen ERA? 2nd in the American League. The Astros at 2.67. And this is the bullpen that, as we mentioned, only 6 pitchers in that pen. 2.67. Kansas City far and away the league leader. But the American League average of 353.
Buzz, I think Robinson Chirinos is going to have a very long ice bath tonight.
Yeah, he's going to have to soak in there. Matter of fact, he may as well just pull up a pillow and stay in there all night. Got that right off the top of his foot. Holy cow.
Look at it.
Yeah. He's not laughing. He's trying to stifle a scream. Breaking ball outside to him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Preston Tucker, by the way, has stayed in the ball game and playing in left field for the Astros. Chirinos 1 for 2, had that single back in the 5th inning. He's also grounded to short. Foul back just to our left. Bill Cousins, our stat guy, had that all taken care of. Matter of fact, he was charging that. Had to pull him back in the booth.
That was all yours. I saw you had your glove ready and everything, didn't you?
Just right up there. Yeah, Bill he was standing up. He had that.
Yeah.
Two balls and two strikes. Now that average we showed you for Will Harris, the 116 opponent's average, that's second among all major league relievers. And he gets a pop up to shallow right. Colby Rasmus almost to the infield, able to make that catch. That tells you how shallow he is playing in right field.
Yeah, he wasn't on a dead sprint for that. He was able to get there and got under it, and that tells you just how shallow he is and over towards the line he is.
Can you do that because of the dimensions here at the ballpark? Play a lot more shallow?
You know, I think it really depends on your pitcher.
Okay.
You know, and a guy like Harris, with the numbers that he's got, he's been pretty effective. So what that tells me is, hey, this guy hits his spots. He throws strikes. So whatever defensive alignment we're in, I feel pretty good that, you know, he's going to hit his spot and have the hitter hit it to that alignment.
Now, you've got two guys in the outfield, in center and right anyway, that Marisnik and Rasmus, that are center fielders.
Right.
And that's how they've been raised. And so they get jumps on balls and they're used to going back on balls. So they can play a little more shallow than your typical right fielder or left fielder. There's a strike to Delino. It's 0-2. DeShields 2 for 3 tonight. A pair of singles. The average of Delino's now back up over the 270 mark. 274 currently. Harris to the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Harris, a cut fastball. That's the one you are seeing right there. He just tempts people with that. That's a hard cut fastball. 93, 94 mile an hour cut fastball. Also a curve that he'll throw maybe 1 out of 10. 1 out of 9, 1 out of 10 pitches. But he is the master of that Mariano Rivera kind of cutter. The 2-2 pitch. Chopper to third. Gonzalez, a quick release. And Delino hightailing it down the line. It's thrown out by half a step. Folks, Fox Sports Southwest brings you a special edition of Big 12 Live with wall-to-wall coverage of the Big 12 College Football Media Days. It's live from Dallas. Coming up this Monday and Tuesday, beginning each day at 9 a.m. Two outs, bases empty here in the top of the 7th inning. Rougned Odor is 1 for 3. Will step in. Odor singled in the 1st inning. Flied into a double play in the 3rd and was on via a fielder's choice in the 5th. Average at 243 currently. There's that big curveball, a pretty good compliment to that hard cutter. 1-1. Harris back to the plate. Now 2-1. Harris, a Houston native. Born and raised down here and Happy to be back with his hometown team. Went to LSU. Will was a first baseman in college. Decided that throwing that cutter was a lot easier than hitting the cutter. Originally drafted by the Colorado Rockies in the 9th round of the 2006 draft. Went through waivers a few times. Colorado ran him through, Oakland ran him through, and Houston claimed him off waivers from Arizona last offseason. 2-2 the count to Odor. Pretty well hit right center field. That is going to be up the gap, one hop and off the wall. Odor to second. He's not stopping there. He will motor into third with a stand-up three-bagger. So Rougned Odor, a three-base hit with 2 outs here in the 7th inning.
Ayers trying to go upstairs with a fastball. It's out of the zone. Rudy went up there and got it. Got on top of it, drilled it into right center field.
So Odor's 3rd triple of the year. Well, the Rangers making some noise here in the 7th with 2 outs. Prince Fielder at the plate is 2 for 3 tonight. Takes the first pitch a little bit low for ball 1. Fielder came up with a couple on and 2 outs in the 5th inning. And Colin McHugh got him to lunge at a changeup. He popped up for the final out. No huge overshift this time with Will Harris on the mound. Up the middle, that's exactly where Correa is. Got him out, and that will do it for the Rangers. They get a 2-out triple, but strand Odor. Stretch time down here in Houston. The Astros leading the Rangers 3-1. .com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, statcasts, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or your tablet. Well, we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Keone Kela has come out of the Ranger bullpen to take over. Keone most often used Ranger reliever, appearing in his 43rd ball game. He is leading the American League in appearances. He is on now, and he will face Jason Castro, the number 8 hitter, to start things off. He misses outside for ball 1. Keone appeared in the Sunday game against San Diego, worked an inning and gave up a run on 2 hits. That's out of play to the left. 1 ball and 1 strike. Castro has faced Keller one other time. He lined out against him. Season, Castro a .210 average, 7 home runs, 19 driven in. He is 0 for 2 tonight. One ball and 2 strikes. The ability to throw that breaking ball for Keller and the changeup in for strikes has really become a weapon for Keller. He's kept guys off the fastball for the most part, being able to do that. And he comes up with 97. Just happen to have that in my back pocket. Not a bad combo.
That's good to have. That's good to have. You've got, when you throw mid to upper 90s and it's straight, you've got to have something to get guys off your fastball, because major league hitters, they'll catch up to it and they'll turn that right around. So you've got to have an equalizer, whether it's a breaking ball, changeup, something off speed to get them off of a straight fastball. Then again, unless you're Aroldis Chapman throwing 103.
Yeah, then you don't need anything else.
No.
For the most part.
Actually, you probably need about 5 more feet between home plate and the mound. That's what I'd want. I'd lobby for that when he comes in. You've got to throw from the backside of the mound.
Out straight, yeah. Oh, that was something for all you folks that didn't happen to see it. The final inning of the All-Star game, Aroldis Chapman of the Reds came in and faced the American League. And let's see, there was Teixeira made the last out. Moustakas made an out. I've forgotten who the first hitter was that inning. Had no chance either.
None.
Threw 10 fastballs. 2 of them were under 100. Everything else was between 100 and 103. And Castro draws the leadoff walk here in the 7th inning. 1 on, nobody out. Jake Marisnick now will step in to face Keone Keller. Marisnick a double in 2 trips tonight. He doubled and scored, leading off the 3rd inning for the Astros. Average at .241. See if A.J. Hinch might be employing the bunt. He is. Keller underhanding to Moreland, covering. They just do get Marisnick. And because Marisnick can really get down that line, that play was a lot closer than had there been a less of a runner going down there. Hitch had to do a little fancy footwork after he caught that toss. So the sacrifice goes 1-3 into scoring position is Castro.
Tough play for Mitch to get back. Odor was playing up the middle to pull, and actually in double play depth as opposed to being over and in, maybe thinking about, hey, he's either going to try, he might try and push a bunt my way since he's got that whole right side, or it could just be a sacrifice situation. Marisnick is hitting 9th in the order, and you've got one of the league's best hitters coming up behind him in scoring position.
Well, A.J. Hinch talking to Marisnick about that. All the options that were present at that at bat. Here's Jose Altuve, who was singled in 2 official trips. Walked back in the first, had an RBI double. Should say a double, not a single. That was in the 3rd, and then grounded to short his last time. Altuve has faced Keller one other time and popped out. Now Castro at second. Keone trying to keep this a 3-1 Astro lead. Pretty good idea to go something besides fastball in that first pitch to Altuve.
Yes. He would have been right on the fastball.
Because unless they turn the lights on here, he's going to be hacking at it.
And chances are he's going to put it in play.
Yeah, and he might have done it even if they turned the lights out. He heard it well enough. 0-1 pitch coming. Broken bat right back to Kelly. He checks Castro back to second. And Altuve is retired for the second out. And before Marwin Gonzalez comes up, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. The Yankees threatening to open up a huge lead over there. Been back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah, they've been playing some pretty good baseball.
Rangers will receive the New Yorkers, as a matter of fact, coming up on this next homestand. They will be waiting in Arlington when the Rangers get back from Anaheim a week from Sunday. First things first, though. You got 3 games here, 3 games in Anaheim, and 3 in Colorado on this road trip. Marwin Gonzalez is 2 for 3 tonight. Pair of singles and a double play grounder. And again, going with something other than the fastball on the first pitch. Keone Keller gets on top of the count. Keone, a 22-year-old from the Seattle area. Certainly the pitching surprise of spring camp for the Rangers. Not a surprise anymore, but I think you put he and Delino DeShields together, and you've got some young guys that I don't think many folks thought could contribute at the big league level this year necessarily.
Yeah, definitely not to this magnitude. I don't think they were really thinking it. Well, I'm not sure going into camp that they thought Keller was going to make the ball club,
right.
But I think he pitched well enough to do that. And then once we got into the season, we've actually seen what he can do on a pretty consistent basis. And the same thing for DeShields.
Here's that big breaking ball, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
But a lot of times, with especially winning ball clubs, it's typically somebody that wasn't expected to step up that steps up to help a team get over that hump.
Yeah. Yeah, because predictions are based on what the known quantities your veteran players are. Pretty good fastball, and Gonzalez able to foul it off to stay alive at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Robinson Chirinos going to go out there and check with Keone. Instead of going through a bunch of signs, say, okay, what do you want to throw? Here's what I think. What do you think?
Best way to do it, get back there behind the plate. Don't put down a sign. So guys like me out there stealing signs can't do it.
Have no idea what's coming. Which is exactly what's happened right here. Got him swinging. Well, a good breaking ball. Gonzalez gone, and the leadoff walk does no damage. Keone Keller gets a strikeout to leave 1 aboard. We'll go to the 8th inning here in Houston. The Astros 3 and the Rangers 1. This is just the start of a 9-game, 10-day trip for the Rangers. 3 here in Houston. Then on to Denver for 3 against the Rockies at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. And then the off day on Thursday. 3 more to finish off the trip in Anaheim next weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then back home to take on the New York Yankees. And we head to the top of the 8th inning. Pat Neshek, the 34-year-old veteran right-hander now, has come in to take over. He'll face Beltre, Moreland, and Hamilton. Neshek, 39th appearance of the year, 3-1, an ERA at 2.70. Batting average against always very good at 183. Adrian Beltre 2 for 3 tonight, a pair of singles. Lines another one to center field. Marisnik to his right. That is twice now that Adrian has hit the ball right on the nose and lined to Marisnik. 1 gone. Well, folks, here's tonight's strongest fan photo. Appreciate it. From Chelsea. Chelsea, thank you very much, and thanks to the good folks at T-Mobile for making this possible. Just use hashtag Southwest Data Strong, and your photo might be selected to be aired during an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile, just like Chelsea's was.
Buzz, what do you think when you see a pitcher with a delivery like this?
Well, first of all, it makes my arm hurt to watch him throw. But I think somewhere along the line, he was a normal pitcher, normal looking pitcher, and he got hurt somehow, and just found a comfortable spot. I don't think you would teach anybody to throw that way. Do you?
Oh, absolutely not. There's no way that you would go into teaching somebody how to pitch and say, "Hey, let's try this."
Yeah, this looks good on him. Why don't you try this? Yeah, I don't know where Pat Neshek went wrong, but yeah, that's a funky delivery, but it is effective. You have to admit that. 3-0 pitch right down the middle. In his bio, it says he developed his sidearm delivery after an injury in high school. And to go back that far, it had to be a pretty traumatic injury.
Yes.
3-1 pitch, and Moreland skies one to deep left field. Back at the Crawford boxes is Tucker. Leaps up, and it's off the scoreboard. Into second with a double is Mitch Moreland. Well, Mitch going the other way. It's about 325 feet to that base of that tall wall right there, the out-of-town scoreboard. And Mitch hit it about maybe 10 feet up that wall.
Mitch gets a pitch out over the plate. We've seen him do it on a number of occasions, take that ball out to left field. And when I say out, I mean out in the seats.
Yeah.
He did it last time here, as a matter of fact, against this Astros team. And just missed that one by maybe 5 feet. And a great play by Marisnik backing that play up. If he's not there, Mitch has a triple.
Yeah, that's kind of like the wall in Boston, the Green Monster. Yeah. Giveth and taketh away, and that time it giveth. So, Rangers have Moreland in scoring position. Josh Hamilton 0 for 3. Changeup is nubbed foul, and the count goes to 0-2. Josh almost tied the ball game last time up. That was in the 6th inning. He had Moreland on at first and hit a towering fly ball that sent Colby Rasmus right back to the wall in right field. Up against the wall, Rasmus plucked it right off the yellow line at the top of the wall. Now Josh with Moreland at second and 1 out here in the 8th inning. Same opportunity. Neshek to the plate. you back. That's Preston Tucker up there jumping up for that ball, and the ball actually hit further down the wall than he thought it was going to. Almost got hit in the head. Chopper to the right side. Altuve goes on to Singleton for the out. On to third goes Moreland. He's there now with 2 outs, and Elvis Andrus coming up. So Hamilton 0 for 4 as he makes a U-turn and heads back to the Ranger dugout. Rangers an odd line tonight. 1 run on 13 hits against a trio of Astros pitchers. Only inning they had not had a base hit in, or a base runner as a matter of fact, was the 4th. That was when Colin McHugh struck out the side in order. First pitch inside. Elvis taking it off the plate. Elvis 1 for 3 and an infield single in the second. Knee-high strike evens the count. Elvis over the years 0 for 5 against Pat Neshek. Has always put the ball in play. Has not struck out against him. But 4 ground outs and a fly out. That ball is hit deep to left field. Back goes Tucker. Reaches up. He can't get it. It's over his glove and off the wall. In to score is Moreland to second base with the RBI double. Elvis Andrus. It's a 3-2 Houston lead. Elvis came about 10 or 15 lateral feet of tying this ball game up. That's to the left. Just those 10 or 15 feet. It's in the Crawford boxes.
Elvis gets the ball hanging out over the middle of the plate, just a little bit on the inside part of it. It's like a breaking ball, and drills it in the left center field gap. 15 feet or so from those Crawford boxes. Nice at bat by Elvis, down in the count.
Well, Rangers put their second run on the board. Now here's Leonys Martin. He takes a fastball for strike 1.
That's a tough angle right there. If you're an outfielder, you've got to make sure you don't run straight into that corner of the wall there.
Yeah, wake you up in a hurry. Leonys 0 for 3. Fouls that pitch back. And now finds himself down in an 0-2 hole to Pat Neshek. A little frustration on Leonys' face after missing that pitch.
Yeah, it was a good pitch for him to hit over there in that hole on the left side. And he knew it.
Leonys at .219 with the average. Only one other at bat against Pat Neshek. 0 for 1. Right-hander now steps off the back of the pitching rubber, and Jason Castro going to go out and talk to him. The Rangers able to get 1 on the board in the 6th. They've scored 1 here in the 8th. They have the tying run out at second base and 2 outs. Castro and Neshek doing a little brainstorming out there. We'll see what they came up with. There's Elvis after the RBI double. That's his 30th RBI, by the way, for the season for Elvis. Neshek's 0-2. Now 1-2. Outfield very shallow with Martin at the plate. One-two pitch. That will even the count. And I would think the more pitches you see from a guy like Neshek, the better chance you have of getting a pitch you can handle and doing something with it.
Yeah, you do. You get used to the angle that that ball's coming from, because that's what you don't typically see a guy that throws from that angle. So the more pitches you see, the better the chance you have of being able to pick it up and do something with it.
Got him swinging. Martin down on strikes. Rangers get a run on a couple of doubles. They strand one. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's now the Astros 3 and the Rangers 2.
As they try to stay with the Astros and ultimately take the lead and get a victory here in Game 1 of this series. Game 2 of the series is tomorrow night here at Minute Maid Park, and it promises to be a lot of fun as the Astros will have a 80s throwback night. They'll be wearing the rainbow jerseys. The Rangers have their late 70s, early 80s powder blues. Now, neither Rougned Odor nor Jose Altuve remember the 80s. Colby Lewis is one of the few Rangers who does. He pitches tomorrow. He was only 10 when the 80s ended, though, guys, and he says he really doesn't remember the Rangers powder blue uniforms or the Astros rainbow uniforms, but he'll get a look at them tomorrow, and so will we. AT&T Uverse reminds us that you see it in HD right here on Fox Sports Southwest tomorrow, guys.
All right, John, thank you. I wish I could say I wasn't old enough to remember him either, but that's not the case. Sam Freeman is in now to take over on the hill. And in case you either forgot or didn't see them, there's the rainbow Astros. There you go. They'll be on display their full glory here tomorrow night. Freeman dealing to Carlos Correa, who is 1 for 3 this evening. And the numbers for Sam, 29 appearances now. 3.86 ERA. That is on its way south. Opponent's average also headed down at 2.43. To right field, Hamilton broke back. Now he has to use his speed to outrun his initial mistake, and he does that. The mark of a good outfielder.
Nice
fast enough
makeup
to outrun your mistakes.
Yes, that's always helpful.
No, one gone. Freeman now will face Evan Gattis. Now, Sam has not been scored upon in his last 9 outings. Only one of his last 14 outings has he given up a run. For the most part, Sam is the left-handed matchup specialist now that the Rangers only have the one left-hander in the bullpen. I think, Jeff Bannister a little more judicious on how you might use Sam Freeman. Chopper up the middle. It's cut off by Elvis. 2 gone. And by that, I mean not really being able to afford using Sam Freeman as a matchup in the 6th inning. necessarily, or fifth inning or sixth inning.
Right, he's a guy that you really have to be careful when you use him because he can be effective in late innings. There's no question about it. He's been proven it.
The time we saw him, Mac, I remember you and I doing the games out in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. He really came in and shut them down completely in two of the games out there. And that was really when he got the attention, I think, of the Rangers staff.
You know, I don't really know what it was, but he just looked very electric that night, or those couple of nights. And I don't know how he turned the corner, or he just got more comfortable. But he just came in throwing gas and throwing strikes.
Sure did. Colby Rasmus, the hitter, 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of strikeouts and a double play grounder. Rasmus, a .233 average. Former center fielder for the Toronto Blue Jays and the St. Louis Cardinals. 2-1. Rasmus waiting. Rasmus had some big years home runs wise in Toronto. Also in St. Louis. Had 1 year at 23 home runs in St. Louis. Had back-to-back years in Toronto of 23 and 22. That was 2012 and 13. Never could quite put the average together with the power numbers. Always kind of a high strikeout guy. 130, 140, not uncommon for Rasmus. Freeman ready for the 2-2 pitch. 3-2. Rasmus hitting in the fifth spot. Will be followed by John Singleton, the first baseman. Payoff pitch on the way. A little reset and try it again. Rasmus plagued throughout his career by stints on the disabled list, and oblique strains and hamstring problems. Check swing, it's inside for ball 4. A 2-out walk puts Rasmus aboard, and John Singleton coming up. For Sam Freeman, that's only his 7th walk this year, and, offset by 17 strikeouts. Singleton has struck out, singled, and walked this evening. 1 out of 2. Batting at 148 now. Ball 1. Three RBI in this juncture. You remember last year, spending virtually the entire year with the Astros. Singleton signed that multi-year deal with Houston. He ended up hitting 168 in 95 games last year. 13 home runs in those 95 games. Rasmus, I would say he was trying to get a walking lead. That was a running lead that he was trying to get. And Freeman happened to see him.
You know, typically when you see a guy do that, he's trying to time the pitcher, especially a left-hander. You're typically going on first movement, but if you can time him and he picks his foot up and he's going to the plate, catcher has no chance. $35,000 Colby Rasmus fans all of a sudden. 36,000, almost 37,000.
1 ball, no strikes. Now the 36,904. They're all getting on Sam Freeman.
Wonder if he'll do it a third time.
I would, just despite the crowd.
I kind of figured he would.
Get him really upset. Now, he misses high, 2-0. Sam trying to work around that 2-out walk to Rasmus. Jeff Bannister going through some signs over there in the Ranger dugout, just in case somebody's watching. 2-1. That's the spot right up there for John Singleton that guys have been able to exploit at the big league level and maybe not at the AAA level as often.
And what's the reason for that? Guys in the big leagues can hit it as opposed to guys in the minor leagues not being able to.
They don't swing at it as much. You mean the pitchers?
Yeah, for the pitchers.
Being able to. Part of it's confidence, and part of it's just experience. You see a guy. If you come to the big leagues and you can't hit a fastball in a location, you're not going to make it. There are enough guys around that are going to smoke you in that spot all the time. Now, if you can't hit a breaking ball or something like that and can hit the fastball, you got a chance.
I know all about that.
Raising your hand. No, but guys get to the big leagues because they can do a couple of things. Pretty much throw the fastball where they want to, within reason. The harder you throw, the bigger the area is that you need to throw it to. The other thing is they have a decent breaking ball that they can throw in a fastball count. Call, strike 3. Singleton got turned into a statue by Sam Freeman. 1 left aboard. Rangers will come to bat in the top of the 9th inning, trailing the Astros 3-2. The 9th inning. Rangers an odd line tonight. 2 runs on 14 hits. Astros 3 runs on 9 hits. And we head to the 9th. And the closer for the Astros, Luke Gregerson, is in to start the 9th inning. 35th appearance for Gregerson. He's a 31-year-old right-hander out of Illinois. Taking over in left field, Alex Presley takes Preston Tucker's position out there. And Tomas Taylor's the latest addition to the Ranger lineup. And now pinch hitting for Robinson Chirinos. Taylor's at AAA, a .291 average, 5 home runs and 25 runs driven in for Round Rock. A rip and a miss. It is 0-2. Taylor's just added today. In case you missed it, Carlos Corcoran had to go on the disabled list. That left thumb that he jammed a couple weeks ago was aggravated. And just got to the point where he couldn't even receive pitches. But Taylor's brought up one of the top catching prospects for the Rangers. The Rangers staff working on stuff today when he got here. Hector Ortiz, the catching instructor for the Rangers, first base coach. Got him swinging. Well, Gregerson getting the strikeout, one away and back to the top of the order. Now our AT&T U-verse rewind. Rangers crept to within a run is in the 8th inning. A double off the Crawford boxes by Mitch Moreland. And that was followed by Elvis Andrus almost hitting the Crawford boxes, getting the RBI double. That made it a one-run game. That's where we stand. The Rangers have had a lot of one-run games, especially on the road. They are 14-14 this year in one-run affairs. The Shields rounds out to Correa, 2 gone. Rougned Odor will be next. Each of the last 3 ball games for the Rangers have been decided by 1 run. They would like to snap that losing. They've lost 2 of the last 3. It'll be up to Rougned Odor if the Rangers are to keep this inning alive and get Prince Fielder to the plate. Odor tonight is 2 for 4. He is single and triple. 36,904 on their feet here at Minute Maid. And a strike. Astros trying to snap their 6-game losing streak. Gregerson's next pitch. Chopper over there, knocked down by Gregerson. Gonzalez, the throw not in time, and the Rangers have life. It'll be an infield single for Odor, his 3rd hit of the night. And the Rangers will bring the go-ahead run to the plate in the person of Prince Fielder.
He reaches out. Gregerson goes up and just knocks it down. And not enough time for Gonzalez to come over and make a play on it. Ruby got down the line pretty good.
15 hits now for the Rangers. But give them credit. They have fought back enough to bring the big guy to the plate with a chance to put them on top. Prince Fielder is 2 for 4 tonight, a pair of singles. Odor, the lead from first. And a strike from Gregerson. Five for 6 against Luke Gregerson is Prince Fielder. 2 doubles and a walk. And you know that Luke Gregerson is very well aware of that. 1 ball and 1 strike. And John Tolleson throwing in the Ranger bullpen, hoping to get a chance for another save. 1-1 to Fielder. Crowd a little bit nervous with Prince Fielder at the plate. Gregerson sets a check of Odor. The 1-1. 2-1.
Looks like Gregerson's going to, he's saying, hey, if you're going to hit it out and beat me, you're going to have to take it the other way. Well,
he might.
Yes, he can, for sure. 315 feet, yeah, he can do that.
Yeah, I doubt very seriously if he's going to see a fastball that's within reaching distance. It would surprise me, let's put it that way. 2 balls, 1 strike the count. Odor away from first. Is outside, 3-1. Well, you pick your poison. Fielder hitting fourth, third, hitting fourth, Adrian Beltre. With Adrian swinging the bat the way he is tonight and has been the last few games, interesting situation for the Rangers. 3-1. A tapper out in front of the mound. It bounces back. Had some great English on it. Looked like something from the British Open. A wedge shot that spun back out of play. 3-2.
Prince is happy about that.
Yeah. So Odor back to first. This crowd now is going to get noisy again. 3-2 with 2 outs. Odor will have the advantage of being off now with the pitch. He can get that running start, which could very well prevent a force at second. Astros sliding around more to the right. They will have Singleton play now behind Odor. Outfield pretty much straight away. Marisnik backing up into that no doubles alignment. 3-2 with 2 outs. Odor on the move. Payoff pitch. Hard hit. Knocked down by Correa. He recovers, throws, scooped out by Singleton. And the Astros have prevailed. Correa took the rocket off of Prince Fielder's bat. Knocked it down, recovered, and threw low, but Singleton able to pull it out of the dirt. And the Astros have snapped their 6-game losing streak. Rangers lose another 1-run ball game, and boy, it was a dandy. And here's the play that capped off the Astro victory.
Prince got a ball out over the middle of the plate, drills it to Correa. Correa knocks it down, keeps it in front of him, and he was just aware that the ball was in front of him. Was able to get to it, get up, throw it over to Singleton, who picked it. Nice play on Singleton's part as well. That is just an absolute rocket.
Well, the Rangers able to battle back and get the go-ahead run to the plate in the 9th inning. And the person of Prince Fielder, and can't pull it out as they lose 3-2. Our TXU Energy Power Player of the game, Colin McHugh, who worked the first 6 innings tonight. Gave up 1 run on 11 hits, but Colin McHugh stifling the Rangers for the most part. 4 strikeouts, no walks this evening. He is our TXU Energy Power Player of the game. McHugh with a variety of different breaking balls. The Rangers just not able to catch up with and do damage. We'll be back to Minute Maid to wrap things up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.